Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Good evening everyone and welcome live to Apex Racing TV for round 7 of the ARL GT Trophy Season 2 here at Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen International, nicknamed the Glen, is the automotive racetrack located in the town of Dix, just at southwest of the village of Watkins Glen in New York, at the southern tip of Selkirk Lake. It was long known around the world as the home of the Formula One United States Grand Prix, which hosted 20 consecutive years from 1961 to 1980. Still, the site has been home to road racing of nearly every class, including the World Sports Car Championship, Trans Am, Can-Am, NASCAR Cup Series, the International Motor Sports Association and IndyCar Series. The course was opened in 1956 to host the auto races previously held on public roads in and around the village. The circuit's current layout has more or less been the same since 1971. We are here now into the last 3 rounds of this season, and the championship is certainly warming up for a grandstand finish. I am Andy Thompson, and joined in the commentary booth with Mr. David Whitehouse, and in production box we have the wonderful Dennis Branch. Welcome, Dave, to Watkins Glen, round 7. Yeah, this championship's certainly heating up into the last 3 rounds, and this one I'm especially looking forward to, as it is my favourite track on iRacing.
Yeah, good evening everybody. We're in for an absolutely storming last few races of the season. We've had a championship battle all the way through between Kerm Havertz and Thibaut Prevot. So we've had the 2 drivers head to head, we've had collisions, we've had them both getting one over each other in terms of races. trying to undercut people in races. We know their kind of strategy by now. We know Kieran likes to go a bit longer, but it's worked out different ways at different circuits. And this is, again, a completely different circuit, old-style American racetrack that's going to... we've been told it will be suitable for the BMW, so that'll be kind of interesting to see if it does head towards the way of Thibaut Prevost. But then again, he's been strong on any kind of circuit this season.
Yeah, definitely. And what is absolutely fantastic, as you saw in them pictures, we do have a McLaren out on track first time this season, and it is a great looking car there. I mean, I think it's probably one of the best looking cars in the GT3 class. Personally, obviously that's my own person, with a new driver, maybe new camp there is just coming out for the last 3 rounds to see how he can get on, but glad he's brought along the McLaren, one of the cars I particularly like looking at, along with the Lamborghini. But yeah, like you were saying, this championship certainly heating up. The top 2, Prevost and Kieran Havas, haven't been separated by a lot for this season. Them two just sharing the spoils of the race wins throughout the season. But obviously we've got the likes of Roger Christensen, who obviously was a latecomer as well to the championship, who's certainly lit the world for the RPC Esports team, and certainly seems to be the leading way in that, even though he is obviously in the junior side of the team, certainly over-hitting his mark, and expect to see him certainly at the front of the grid. But the track itself, I mean, it's such a wonderful track. It's got long sweeping bends, it's got the tight, hard braking areas, and it's got obviously the classic bus stop chicane coming down the extremely long S's and out onto the long straight before that. So I think this track has got a little bit of everything, and certainly one of the drivers' favourites, I feel.
Yeah, it's got elevation as well, which a lot of modern day circuits don't always have, and it's one of them circuits where if you make a mistake, you will know about it. The corner you can just see at the bottom of your screen right now, that is such a tough corner. The camber just falls away. You turn in and it's cambered to help you, and then suddenly it flattens out and your car will just understeer wide if you're not too careful. So it'd be interesting to see how the drivers cope with that, because it can cause mistakes and can be an overtaking place, as we currently see with qualifying with Prevost hitting the top already.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the certain corners I love the outer loop. You know, there's that fast line through there, but you get it wrong, it certainly spits the car out onto the wide, and there's a barrier that's probably paid to a lot of drivers ending the race. In the current corner we're watching there, coming down into the chute, another good one, really fast corner, coming down to around about 3rd gear from 5th gear at the end of that. So that's another really good corner. And obviously the one you mentioned there, turn number 9 and 10, it's always a little bit treacherous coming through there, and it's obviously vital important, the last corner, turn 11, to get that line through. There's a really fast line through that where you'll see a lot of the cars getting pushed out really wide and almost looking like they're going to hit the barrier. But believe it or not, that is actually the racing line around this circuit, to get that really good exit down the start-finish straight. And obviously you've got the classic turn 1, which always throws up a few issues to the normal iRacing series for our viewers that have driven around this, in that the cars go everywhere on that. Luckily there is an extremely large runoff area down there that pretty much saves the majority of the iRacing standard races around this track. But just a quality track, and I'm really looking forward to what it's got in store for us for the next hour. And it's always great to see the top protagonists. And Dave, I'll let you go through the current standings at the moment within the championship.
Yeah, it's great to see that everybody has made it to this round, and the point system keeping it nice and close. I don't know if Dennis can bring up the championship order at this moment. I think he can. Yes, there we go on the screen. Thibaut Prevost at the top after that victory last time out, top of the pile with 338 points. Kieran Havas 233. Now, we discussed last time out that Havertz had a 5-point penalty for the last time for the Spa incident with Prevost, all just above board, sort of. It was a level 1 penalty. So, but that 5 points could be oh so crucial at the end of the year because the gap is now 15 points instead of being 10 points. So it's so crucial there. 7 points for Lucas Lang, who has been not getting the best of results last couple of rounds, so he'll be looking to fight back in the Porsche. Fourth is Odin Miravang for the top RPC Esports team. He's on 260, with Thomas Ahrens, the top Course Sim 1 driver, on 241. Not far behind him is Marek Paulich, Jeremy Bonsuedo, Roger Christensen, who, as we say, is already scoring a 0 because he joined the series late, Anders Learjordet and Marcus Bloom round out the top 10. So there's a few drivers in just outside the top 10 as well who can move up because they've missed the odd round. And speaking of drivers who have missed the odd round, we've already mentioned the McLaren. We also have a Ferrari in the field, which is the Ferrari of Filippo Puccetti. There we go, which I think every iRacer probably has this Ferrari in their garage, and because of the Ferrari challenge in the D class and things like that. So it's a very adaptable car, a very I'm going to say easy car to drive. You know, it's not the quickest, it's not the best handling, but then it's not the slowest and it's not worst handling. You know, it's an all-round package which anybody could sort of jump into, and it's good to see this range of cars expanding in the series, because it has been a bit of a Lamborghini, BMW, Porsche stranglehold this year so far.
Yeah, no Audi tonight, which is a bit unfortunate, but yeah, certainly tight at the top of that championship. You know, 1 down to 6 is all relatively close and places to be made up there. I think you might need to get your glasses out, Dave, because I think you got a point slightly wrong there on the top 2. Obviously, Kieran Hazzo on 3-2-3. I think you said 3 or 2-3-3 or something like that. Lucas Lang on 2-7-2. So all extremely close at the top of the championship there, and it's anyone's race. I think the first two, like you said, Theobald Prevost and Kieran Havas fighting out, but it's vitally important that Havas has a really good round and manages to get in front of Prevost tonight to just close that gap a little bit more. Lucas Lang will be fighting with Odin Miravang there, who's in 4th place in the championship, only 12 points behind Lucas Lang. So as long as he can get a decent round here tonight and get in front of the German in his Porsche, he could stand a fighting chance. And then you got Thomas Ardens is there, that's only 19 points behind Odin Miravang. So, you know, and Marko Paulich that's only 7 points behind Thomas Ardens. So there's everything to gain, and we've got all the main protagonists here tonight joining us. So it's going to be certainly an interesting round, and maybe a little bit of tactical driving with the drivers just to keep themselves ahead of their championship rival. But certainly going to be an interesting fight here tonight, and it's going to be a real good run into the championship end.
Yeah, we also have a Constructors Championship, or Teams Championship, which is down between RPC Esports and Course Sim Racing 1. And to show you how close that battle is, Thomas Wangen and Thomas Ahrens, top 2 for those 2 teams, are exactly equal in this qualifying session on lap time, a 43.19, and only 2 thousandths ahead is Jeremy Bonsuedo, who's sort of a spoiler in the pack in this qualifying session. So it's such close quarters on what is considerably a long track compared to some of them. 1 minute 42 for the pole position at the moment, and that means that the gaps are normally widened out as we see at Spa and places like that, but the guys seem to be all hooked up around this circuit, obviously pro drivers as it's a GT3 Pro Series, and you know, it's just going to be so close. Brian Kroon up in 6th place. That's got to be his best qualifying so far of the season.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, struggling a little bit getting back into it as Brian, but good to see he's having a good outing here at Watkins Glen and currently got the car up to 6th place. We can see how tight the grid is. You know, 42.737 from Kieran Havas, with Prevost just behind him on a 42.9, and then you go into the 43s. So from 3rd place all the way down to 11th place, they're all in the 33s, 8 tenths of a second difference between them as we watch an unorthodox pit stop coming down into what
Yes.
it's quite a tricky pit lane, this one, because it's on an extremely fast corner. If you're coming into that pit lane, you've really got to let the drivers around you, certainly if there's cars just behind you, because they will be going full tilt around there and you'll be slowing down to come into the pit lane. So it can be a treacherous pit lane here at Watkins Glen. So let's hopefully all the cars, when they come in for their standard pit stop, all manage to do it smoothly. But yeah, that is qualifying over at the moment. Drivers just finishing their last lap that they're on. And then we will get down to 60 minutes of racing around Watkins Glen.
Yeah, that was Roger Christensen doing the unorthodox way of coming into pits as Thomas Arons aborts his laps. That is the last car out on the track, because we already saw the McLaren pulling over. So we will very shortly have the grid positions on the screen for you. And just having a look at the chat, we've got Kevin Kittleman. Hello, welcome to the chat. And Nicola Lavage. Sorry if I've just murdered your name, but I can see you asking if they have tyre changes. It is up to the drivers. We don't often see it in a 1 hour race, but if they do want to change tyres, they can. But there will be at least one pit stop because the fuel does not make it to the end.
Only 60% maximum fueling on these GT3 cars in this championship. And no, I wouldn't expect anybody to change tyres. Nobody has all season so far. And you wouldn't normally change it for an hour race. So it'd just be in, splash and dash for the fuel to refuel up and then basically back on their way. But as we've seen in previous rounds, the pit stops are quite entertaining and somehow have a big outcome on to the outcome of the race. So quickly take you through your grid. So on pole position, Kevin Harris there with a 142.737. Thibaut Prevost, his main championship rivals that he's finding there in second place, only 0.2 of a second back. On the second round of the grid, we got Jeremy Bonsuado and Thomas Wangan. On the third row, we got Thomas Harden's Brian Kroon, best position he's started in qualifying all season. Roger Christensen there in P7th. Lucas Lang behind him in 8th. Of the Miravang in 9th. Michael Palic in 10th. Weeby Newcamp in 11th. Marcus Bloom in 12th. And as we go down to the back end of the field, Carl Winkler there in 13th. Anders Lee Jordet in 14th. Fernando Torres, the old faithful, in 15th. And Philippe Giuchetti, our new driver as well, the Italian, rounding out the field in P16. So only a relatively small field, but we had this out in Bathurst, and by God, that was a really good race to watch.
Yeah, but at least in Bathurst, we didn't have to do the whole formation lap. But I don't know why it is with Watkins Glen, but they just love making you do the whole formation lap, which is strange because they've got plenty of straights that you could do, that you could line up on, but no, they're lined up ready on the grid with Porsche safety car at the front, and we're going to have a whole lap to discuss what we think will happen in this race.
Well, it's lucky we can talk, Dave. So I'm sure we'll pretty much fill this this outlap with different things that we can talk about around here. But should be interesting coming down. I mean, it's great to have the rolling starts here, certainly on this track, to get that jump start on that last corner. I'd expect the driver either to really take it right up to the line or literally go just on that corner, which is the normal starting position on this race. So it's going to be an interesting start and a big sprint down to the first corner, which as we said before can throw up some big surprises with the drivers. So, but these being pro drivers, I'm pretty sure that they will all get around there relatively simple. But you know, we've got the main two protagonists at the front, Kieran Havas and Prevost. It's going to be an interesting race between them two, and Kieran really does need the win here today.
Yeah, like you say, he does need the win. He's just slightly slipped back from Prevost in the last couple of rounds. Yes, he won in Spa, but that penalty came in. As we said before, not malicious or anything, but you make a mistake, you sort of have to pay for it in racing, and because you can never put the other car back where it was, because you don't know what would have happened otherwise in the race. You can see there the red Porsche of Brian Kroon. Great effort by him so far in this session, just ahead of the other Porsche of Lucas Lang, who really needs a good result here today. But the top two at the front, followed by Jeremy Bonsuado, who we've seen a we've seen pace from him, and we've seen him sort of disappear in races at times. So he'll be wanting a good result from this race, or the final 3 rounds at least, to I don't know, just boost his confidence a little bit. And I have noticed we don't have Thomas Culliver here either, apart from the Audi of I'm trying to think who drives the Audi now.
Name evades me as well. He's one of the RPC guys, isn't he?
One of the RPC drivers, yeah. I'm trying to think who it is. But anyway, the Audi not here. We also have Thomas Culliver not here. He's had a bit of a disaster of a season as Jeremy's teammate. So Bonsuedo carrying the hopes of the undercut racing team, and he's done very well to qualify up in 3rd place so far. But you can see the drivers heading down round the toe of the boot now. The right-hand side of the grid, going to have to play a little bit of catch-up here, just hanging back a little bit. But like you said before, I expect Havertz to go right on the apex of the final corner, knowing he can just floor it without having to lift again for the exit and just try and get the jump. But then again, like you said, it's the type of start you would expect. So will Prevost try and anticipate that and maybe get a better start?
Yeah, definitely. It's Otfin Ranoskin is the Audi driver that we couldn't quite remember, so that it was there. But before we start this race, just a shout out to one of our sponsors, Virtual Racing School. Improve your on-track performance with 50+ data packs, road and oval setups, track guides, data analysis software, and one-to-one coaching. Head over to virtualracingschool.com to see what more they can offer. But we're just about to get this race underway as they come past the last couple of corners here. As you see there, the last corner right in front of us. So it's going to be interesting to see when Kieran Havas decides to put it. He's gone really close to the car, the safety car in front. Normally they give a little bit of a gap here, but you see it shoots off now, and then basically there we go. We've got a good leap there, and Pevo actually got caught napping there, and maybe under pressure here coming into the first corner by Jeremy Bonsuedo, who's alongside him. So going side by side into the first corner, just backing out slightly there was Jeremy, the Lamborghini driver, just letting Prevost through, which got a little bit surprising. Coming in, but obviously knows that those two are fighting hard for the championship. Thomas Wangan there just trying to secure his position under a lot of pressure from Thomas Ardenzabim. Oh, and a big, huge pile up from it's so easy to do up the S's there. I didn't see it. It's just a cascading effect. Absolutely just ripped this field in two, as you see there. Lucas Lang's Porsche severely damaged, and that is crabbing. He is certainly not going to make it around this. So terrible first lap there from the back marker. So it'll be interesting, Dennis, if we can get a replay of that just to see what happened, because I slightly missed it. And that is a sick-looking Porsche coming down the straight.
That is even more crabbing than Lucas Lang's, but we'll have a look at the replay here. I was about to comment on Jeremy Bonsuedo as this happened, so we'll watch this first. And I'm just trying to see if that's Brian Kroon just getting a tank slapper on, and everybody else, Spa 98 recreated. And I think there's a car at the back of the field. I'm not sure if it was Torres or no, it would have been Marcus Bloom, who I think just managed to drive through the middle of it without hitting anybody and managed to get through. But like you say, it's put Anders Lear Jordet, Marit Paulich, Lucas Lang and Brian Kroon all to pit lane. Weeble Nukamp and Fernando Torres and Filippo Pacetti all involved in that as well. So we got 9 got through the incident, and it was the rest of the field either in the pit or just held up by it. You can see the top 2 have pulled away, and this is the group behind. And going back to Jeremy Bonsuedo into the first corner, I think it was very much, I have nothing to lose, but you have a championship. And I don't want the reputation of having run wide into Prevost and took him out of the championship or out of the race or damaged his car. It was like, I'll have this fight later on, as he is now with Thomas Wangan, who really wants a good result. He's shown tremendous pace over the last few races, especially since Detroit, I think it was, where he had huge pace, yet just had incident after incident. So he really does deserve a chance at the front of the field. But this, you can see it's an RPC coursing racing battle all the way down the top 10.
Yeah, definitely a terrible start. Easily done up through that S's for the first time. Tyres are slightly grown, as we obviously saw Brian just getting a little bit, and it just kicks out on this track as well. You don't really get a lot of notice, and there's not a lot you can do from that, and that was unfortunate there from Brian. His best qualifying up in P6. Unfortunately having that slight issue, and because it's so close on this lap one, certainly going up through their S's, there's just nowhere to go, and because that corner is slightly blind as well, when you're coming around it, you only see the incident at the last minute. That's why we saw every other car behind just have this domino effect and a big pile up there. So this field has now been split into two. During this race, we have obviously the guys that got through that incident and the guys at the back now who are fighting out for the lower positions, but they all should get in. Obviously they do have a fast repair. A lot of them did tow back to the pits, have just got to wait to get back, which is probably around about a minute and a half around this track. Get their fast repair, and there should be that battle then for the back half of the grid between Brian Kroon, Niekamp, Lucas Lang, Anders Lijordet and Michael Parlich. So should have some interesting two split of a race, but currently out front we have Kieran Mavaz just done a 1:43.589, so the fastest lap of the race, and Thibaut Prevot behind him a 1:43.7. So those three again pretty much on song between each other, but we're watching a battle at the moment between Carl Winkler in 7th place and Odin Miravang in 8th, with Marcus Bloom just behind him. So we're going to talk about sandwiches again. So is that an RPC sandwich, or is that a course sim sandwich? We talk a lot on this championships. What is it?
Yeah, well, it's nothing now, because up the inside goes Odin Miravang, up the inside of Carl Winkler, and takes 7th place. And I think that was Carl Winkler's blessing in disguise, that instant, because it moved him from outside the top 10 in qualifying up 6 places into 7th, and now he's dropped back down to 8th with Marcus Bloom just close behind him in the course sim Racing 2 car. But yeah, Lucas Lang just really hasn't had any luck the last few rounds. Marek Paulich still in the pits. I'm not sure why he's still there with the fast repair. I mean, the drivers are really lucky they get a fast repair, so if an incident like that happens, they can sort that out. It does look like your beloved McLaren, Weeble Nijkamp, is out of the race. He did pop to the pits, but the timing screen is saying he is out, so we'll go with that unless we see differently. But I'm sort of not fed up, but feel like I'm on repeat saying Havertz and Prevot are in a league of their own, and they are again today. 1 second quicker than anyone else in the field, both of them, but matching each other for pace. It's just absolutely ridiculous the standard these two have set this season.
Yeah, definitely, and obviously haven't got Sven Newman, our last year's championship, in here, so a new championship will be crowned this season, and these two drivers obviously brand new to ARL leagues as well, so it's really good to see that we're getting this breed of drivers coming into the ARL championships, and as we see on screen there's Kieran up front, and of course followed by Prevot, which is the usual sight that we do come to see in these championships. But these two make some interesting races and interesting fighting throughout the season. It's never over till the probably the final flag between these two, and they'll be following each other for the next 50 minutes on track, so it's going to be interesting. But Jeremy Bonsuardo there in 4th place, just behind Thomas Wangen, the RPC Esports team, in the BMW there in 3rd place, currently got that last position. So there's a big battle at the moment for that 3rd place between Wangen, Bonsuardo, Thomas Hardens and Roger Christensen's not that far off the pace. And there's a slight little gap back to Miravang in 7th, which is the battle we were just watching with Carl Winkler and Marcus Bloom in 9th, and then we got Fernando Torres about 22 seconds behind Bloom at the moment, but about 20 odd seconds ahead of Puccetti in 11th. So Torres again may get a top 10, being in no man's land, but we're seeing here Bonsuardo just looking all over the back of Thomas Wangen's BMW there to try and make a move. He might make a move down here, coming into the inner loop, side by side coming down. This could end badly, just need to be aware. Yeah, so slightly backs out there to Jeremy to get around, because it really is only one line through that inner loop.
Yeah, you don't want to go too wide into that unless you are both very willing partners in that. But like you say, it's just, I mean, I just looked at the lap times, and Heverts and Prevost was about 4 tenths slower than the last time round. And I thought, oh, there we go. The second a lap's not going to happen. No, it was 1.2 seconds quicker than anyone else. But it's just crazy what they set. But that shows you the standard. I mean, these two have set the high standard, but the rest of this field is so high class as well, and it's just remarkable. This is why it's so remarkable what these two are doing, even though we're only 8.5 minutes into this race. Throughout the whole season, what they are doing is remarkable because the rest of the field is so strong. I've seen these drivers out in official races, winning top class races all the way through. Whether it be even Fernando Torres, who, I mean, we say he's slightly slower than the rest, and he always comes along and always scores and all this, but he is actually so high class. He's out there winning top split races. So this is the thing with the GT Pro Series. It is literally pros. You know, it's not just in the title. These guys are super quick, and I think it shows as well that how quick these guys are. But the amateurs, which is a league I was in last year, I couldn't keep up with them. So if I couldn't keep up with them, what I'm doing this. Oh, and that's Thomas Wangan taking a grass cutting option at the chicane, which allows Bonsuedo to get through. And he's trying to hold off Aarons, but he can't do that. And his teammate Roger Christensen will be next up in the junior car, but it doesn't quite make it through. But yeah, as I say, I was struggling in the amateurs, so you know, these guys are another level above that, as we've seen when the amateur champions came up to the pro.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these drivers are really good, but it's all in good fun. It's a completely different atmosphere in these league races to the normal races you see on iRacing, with everyone yeeting up, just making really ridiculous moves on each other. All these guys have respect for each other, and the passings, on the whole, really clean. We do have the instance that we had at the start, but that was clearly down to nobody's fault. It was just an unfortunate one of them racing accidents that can happen around Watkins Glen, but normally entertained with excellent racing. But what this has done, this crash at the start, just looking at the points, Lucas Lang was there in third place on 272. You had Odin Miravang on fourth on 260. He's currently running around in P7th at the moment, 6 places ahead of Lucas Lang, so we'll be closing that gap. Thomas Ardens was there in 5th place. He was around about 23 points behind Lucas Lang, but he's sat up there at the moment in 4th place. So, you know, what this will do, although it's absolutely terrible for the guys that crashed out, it's really going to make this championship even tighter going into the last 2 rounds of the season. So, you know, there is a silver lining in all of that for some of the drivers, in that they've got now really good opportunities, as long as they can finish where they're currently at, to gain some valuable points in the championship and close up that top 6 race for that last podium position in the championship. So you know, there is some silver lining to some of the drivers being at the back. They won't feel that, and obviously Lucas Lang will feel a bit aggrieved, but unfortunately that is racing and incidents happen. And you know, always a classic one coming up, that S is on that first one. You know, you normally do get one of the cars spinning out, and it's almost like a mechanic in iRacing that it says, right, one of you cars will spin, you won't feel it till it's actually gone and you can't do anything about it, and we're going to write off your car. It seems to be the way every single time you come to Watkins Glen or watch a race around Watkins Glen.
Yeah, exactly. It's just such close racing. And going back to the respect thing you were saying about the league races, you've got to remember these two drivers have been hammer and tongue for the championship all year long, apart from Austria, where Kim had a bit of a shocker in terms of his actual results. It's been these two head to head, and you watch championships and you watch real life championships, shall we say, in sort of out of a sim world, and drivers will log heads until something happens. Now at Spa, something happened between these two, and then we get the interviews, for the next round, and we think, there we go, we can, this is going to get a bit spicy. And they're both there talking absolute praises off each other, and absolutely no sort of, I know it wasn't something malicious or anything like that, but that sort of normally brings the spice up. And these two were like, yeah, no, he's brilliant, he's going to be quicker in. It's like that, you don't get that respect anywhere else apart from league races. So that shows you the sort of camaraderie as well in these series.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody's out to have a little bit of fun on a very dreary, dull Tuesday night. Obviously, just the start of the week, everyone just got back to work thinking, I need a bit of entertainment and excitement. And this league race certainly does it for them. And like you say, Dave, they are all very, all very amicable, bigging each other up. And I think all they're just after is some really good racing. And certainly in this series throughout these rounds, we've had some really good racing, and currently on screen at the moment, we've got a really good race for this third place position, to currently being held by Jeremy Brunswado in first. Thomas Arden's just behind him in fourth, and Thomas Wangen, obviously with his grass cutting coming out of the inner loop, would have got a slowdown for that as well, hence why we saw him going a slightly bit slower around the outer loop, and obviously letting Jeremy and Thomas go through there. But certainly will be just there on the fringes, watching these two Lamborghinis in front and waiting for his opportunity to make that move. But he does have his teammate Roger Christensen just behind him, an unusual place for him. He's normally third out on grid and the top RPC driver, but currently at the moment we've got Thomas Wangen in front of him, who is the top RPC driver in fifth place. And you were saying about the championship, at the moment the RPC Esports team are completely running away with the core sim guys that we're currently watching on screen in second place, around about 30 points off. But constantly we've had around about 3 drivers from the RPC senior team in these races, and I think we've only got 2 here tonight, but that's even numbers between them and the core sim racing 1 guys. So the other guys having a little bit of a break this round from the RPC Esports team. But yeah, it's really good, and it's good to see Carl back in his usual place, but has Marcus just behind him there, the 2 Lamborghinis from Core Sim 1. But we join the front of the battle here with Kiram Havas still out front, getting a slight bit of a gap of 0.9, going up to about the second gap of Theobald Prevost in the BMW behind him. But we did have both the drivers in the commentary booth for the last round, and Theobald was saying that he thought that the Lamborghini would be better around Watkins Glen than the BMW, but still managing to keep on his coattail. But that gap is just ever so slightly growing and then coming down. Oh, big wide there from Havas, which literally closed him up from a second gap to 1/10 of the second gap. So maybe we can see Prevost making a move down here into the inner loop.
Yeah, Prevost right up behind the Lamborghini's rear spoiler. He's sitting in there at the moment and not taking a look, so it's obviously a bit tactical not to try and make a move just yet, not to show his hand to Havertz, and it's just keep his nose clean at this time. The race always comes in the last sort of 10-15 minutes, so it's all about keeping himself clean. It does look like Marek Paulich won't be returning from the pit lane. He's now 9 laps down, so we are down to 14 drivers. Every driver will score points if they do finish within 2 laps of the leader. So Lucas Lang and Anders Lear-Jordet still have things to fight for back there in 13th and 14th, as Thomas Ahrens and Thomas Wangen are fighting hard over 4th and 5th. And Roger Christensen just watching on, having a watching brief at the moment, enjoying the battles he can see ahead, but certainly wanted to be ahead of them. Something I just wanted to pick up on as well. I will hear cries of track limits in my head. No, the drivers will have iRacing set a track limit, and if you're any kind of sim driver, you find them track limit warnings and you keep just inside of them. So here, for example, it will be the outside of the curb, just making sure that you have a tyre on the curb at all times, or 2 tyres. It's all put in the information at the start of any iRacing event. So while you may see him running wide and think, oh, are they allowed to do that? Yes, they are, to a certain extent. where you saw Kim Havertz go, or even where Thomas Wangen's just been on his BMW, there could be a 1x or a slowdown penalty to worry about, as Wangen now has to watch out for Thomas Ahrens, who is all over the back of him. We've now got an RPC sandwich with a horse sim racing in the middle, but are we going to go 3 wide? Roger Christensen having a look at the inside, and Thomas Wangen thinking, I'm having none of that. I'll be the one who backs out. But yeah, Roger Christensen, luckily for the RPC guys, they can sort of tell each other, I'm coming through, you know, watch out for me. But Thomas Ahrens on the outside, trusting both the guys just to leave enough room for him.
Yeah, definitely. But that, talking about the off tracks, that turn 1 is an absolute monster. To get an off track there, you have to literally go right to the end of the curve on the right hand side to even think about getting a 1x on that. It's really big, that off track there in 1. So you'll see these drivers taking a really wide line often into turn 1, knowing they can. But the drivers do have a 20 incident limit before they will get a drive-through penalty within this. I mean, I don't think we've actually seen anyone having to do a drive-through. I think we might have saw one at Red Bull Ring, but that track is horrendous for off tracks. But I wouldn't imagine that we would have that effect here tonight at Watkins Glen. But you know, us commentators have known to be wrong at the time. But there's that classic coming out of the last corner and getting right over onto the curve, nearly hitting the wall. That's the line you want to be taking around that last corner to get the maximum speed coming down into the start-finish straight, coming around a wonderful camera angle of that first corner with that huge runoff area that we got. I pretty much reckon we won't see any driver taking the track there. They will all be taking that outside curve coming into there. But currently at the moment, we've still got the usual suspects out front, and Kieran just slightly getting that gap after that little incident round the first corner, back up to 0.8 of a second over Thibaut Provo. So Thibaut probably thinking he might be slightly right from what he was saying in the commentary last week when he joined us, is that maybe that BMW is struggling a little bit with the pace of that Lamborghini, which will be happy for Avaz in front, because like we said, he does need a couple of race wins to close down that gap to the lead at the top of the championship that Prevost currently has. But Jeremy Van Swado managing to get away a little bit with Thomas Ardens, Roger Christian and Thomas Wangen all fighting out there. So Jeremy just managing to scamper away for that last podium position at the moment in this race. Only about 1.5 seconds ahead of Thomas Ardens, but that is all important for that slipstream effect. So, and with these three drivers so closely contesting that top 4 position, it's just going to give him even more opportunities to get further out. But it's all down to these three drivers. Are they going to play nicely with each other, or are they going to keep trying to take the positions back off each other? Only time will tell.
Yeah, like you say, Jeremy Bonsuardo has managed to pull away, and he's actually kind of matching the leaders. This last time by Thomas Ahrens and Roger Christensen and Thomas Wangen all dipped into the 1:44s as well, so everybody's pace has sort of settled. But it's a bit too late. The top 2 have gone, and it's leaving the final podium battle between the rest of the field, as we can now see Roger Christensen trying to get back past Thomas Ahrens. Christensen not qualifying as well as he has been. It's probably his worst qualifying of the season. He goes up the inside of Thomas Ahrens, just about Thomas putting a lot of trust in Roger there, launching it in there, but Christensen around the outside, the 2 Lamborghinis side by side. Thomas Wangen just behind, waiting to pick up the pieces, but it's Christensen to the inside as they go into the boot section, and he's managed to make it through just ahead. But now it's a swap back and forward between these 3 cars, because about 2 laps ago Thomas Wangen was leading the field and Christensen was behind them all. So it's very, very close between all these 3 drivers, and not far behind is Orvid Miravang. He's only 4 seconds back and will be looking to try and get into this fight, because he was on the podium last time out, I believe, and he's just coming up behind. I think that's Lucas Lang to lap him, so that shows you how much time Lucas Lang lost in that opening accident.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he had to tow back to the pit, so would have lost pretty much a lap waiting for his car to be put back into the pit, so use that fast repair to get out. So it's going to be a lonely race for Lucas Lang back there in 13th place, but needs to keep going, like you say. Will score points as long as you're within 2 laps of the drivers. But talking about Roger Christensen's move there, the lap before over the driver Thomas Ardens there in 5th. I mean, that was just a fantastic move. Got his car just on the inside of the inner loop coming out of the exit, so was on the outside for the outer loop, but vitally it was on that inside line coming down into the chute. And basically, if you're on that inside line going 2x2 wide, you normally get the advantage there, and he managed to make a pay and get his car out in front, and still managing to keep his car out in front at the moment is Roger up there in 4th at the moment. Thomas Ardens just behind him in 5th, keeping him honest as much as he can right on the back. And Thomas Wangen, again, it might be the BMW Lamborghini effect here, but just seems to be struggling a little bit to keep up with the pace that these Lamborghinis have here today. So certainly looks like at the moment the Lamborghinis have the advantage over the BMWs.
Yeah, just slightly, but Thomas Wangen doing a good job of holding on to the back of these two at the moment. And as we say, Prevost dropping 1.5 seconds behind Havertz now. But it's a common theme we see. Havertz normally goes longer on the pit stop, but Prevost seems to, while he doesn't always have a shorter pit stop, he's quite quick around the pit stop, so the in lap, the out lap, nailing the speed line and things like that. So it's going to be close between them, but Havertz pulls out a 44.0 on the last lap to be, it's not the quickest lap of the race, but he's 6/10 quicker than Prevost. And he's coming up to Brian Kroon next, so he will get a nice slipstream off the Porsche up this straight. So Havertz certainly putting himself in a strong position in this race. But like we said before, Prevost has the points advantage. If he follows Havertz home in every single race for the rest of the season, yes, he would lose the title. But one race doesn't harm that much. Yes, he wants to win it, but it doesn't harm his championship too much to follow Havertz home, as long as he doesn't go spinning it somewhere here today, putting it in the wall and losing a stack of points instead.
Definitely. I mean, it makes the championship a little bit more spicy if Kieran does win this race. It just closes that gap slightly more and just gives us that grandstand finish for the final round of the season, which is going to be a cracker. But yeah, so we can see there Havertz just getting a little bit of a slipstream over Brian Kroon, who did start the race in 6th position, but had a slight spin coming up the S's, which put pay to his car there and caused a car park coming up through the S's, let's just say that, with the back half of the field. But you know, all the cars back on track. I'm a little bit gutted we're not looking at the wonderful pictures of that McLaren within this race, but hopefully Neil Camp will come back next week and we can see his wonderful livery and his wonderful car, that McLaren. And Michael Pallet, so it's a bit strange with them two, why they didn't take their fast repair. Maybe they thought they were too far off the back and decided, you know what, I'm not fighting for anything at the moment. I'll just sit back, enjoy the commentary and watch the race as it unfolds. But we can see there Kieran Havertz certainly on a charge at the moment. We saw a couple of laps ago, Prevost was only about 0.2 of a second behind Kieran Havertz, but now he's 2.1 seconds behind, so losing the tailpipes of that Lamborghini out in front. He's about 8 seconds ahead of the battle we're currently watching on screen. We're between Roger Christensen and Thomas Ardens. I'm saying that he's a little bit more than that. Actually, I was looking at Bonsuado, who's managed to get 4 seconds in 3rd place over this fight we're currently watching on screen for 4th place between Christensen, Ardens and Wangen. So these three battling it quite hard and pretty much gifting that 3rd place to Jeremy Bonsuado in 3rd.
Yeah, they're not sort of working together as a team, which I think if Christensen and Wangen were in a line together, they would do, but Aaron's just sort of throwing a spanner in the works for him at the moment. Just having a look at the chat. Rally stat 468 saying go Pacetti. Yeah, it is in 11th place, Filippo Pacetti. There he is, slightly on his own after that first lap incident, but keeping that Ferrari going. And It's built like a brick, isn't it? Really, that Ferrari that always keeps going whatever state it might be in. But he's used his fast repair, did pit at the end of the opening lap to make sure all repairs were done, and he's currently 1 minute 22 off the lead. But he is only 19 seconds away from Fernando Torres, so we may still see that Ferrari in the top 10 by the end of this race.
Definitely. I mean, obviously that was the unfortunate incident we saw on the opening lap with a few of the cars. That's why you've seen a big gap from P9 all the way down to the back end of the field, because those cars were involved in the obligatory crash that normally happens coming up this S on that first lap, with extremely cold tyres on an extremely fast couple of set of bends there. But certainly being entertained at the moment here with the battle for fourth place between Roger Christensen, Thomas Hardens and Thomas Wangen at the track. So that battle will continue, and it'll be interesting to see. Oh, it's Thomas Wangen goes extremely wide on the inner loop, loses a lot of time there, just got it completely wrong, that line coming in. There's really a line in there. It'll be interesting to watch a car as you go through it. You literally cut that first corner, go right over the curb on the entry into the inner loop to try and get on to cut the inside of the second turn to make it a really neat entry in there. But Thomas obviously getting that first corner slightly wrong there, pushing him wide out on the inner loop, which made him go extremely deep into the corner coming out of the inner loop, which lost him a time. You can see the time he's lost on track just by that slight little mistake around that inner loop part of the circuit.
Yeah, like you say, there's one line through that inner loop and you just have to hit it right, and it's so easy to do what Thomas just did. And this time he managed not to cut the final bit and not get a slowdown, so he's not too far off. Hanging on to their coattails is Lucas Lang, who has got a nice little group of pace setters just in front, but this releases the pressure on Thomas Ahrens to pile on the pressure on Roger Christensen, who in turn really needs to set off up the road on Jeremy Bonsuardo, who's 4 tenths quicker than this group last time round. So the Frenchman really pushing hard in the Lamborghini to extend that gap, ready for the pit stops. I can see somebody also mentions, is the damage for Prevost, because it looks like he's losing time in the straights. We don't believe so.
Have a look at his car. Let's have a look at it.
There doesn't seem to be anything on his car, and also he was away in second place in the race. Bonsuardo was the only car which was near him into turn 1, and there's no damage there. We haven't seen him go off the track anywhere, so I don't believe so. But looking at the car, it does look all in one piece. But yeah, maybe the Lamborghini's just stronger. It also depends on setup. He might have gone slightly downforce heavy compared to the Lamborghini, and that's where he's losing a bit of time. As Fernando Torres is in the pit, and I would say that's a BMW, but half of it's missing.
It's part of a BMW with the extended cooling package on the front of that BMW at the moment, so must have had an issue there, because he can't have been carrying that from the first lap, I'm pretty sure. Obviously we can't tell, we didn't see his car, but we'll have that fast repair if he hasn't. Car looks spankily new when he comes out of the pit after refueling, so perfect time if he did have an incident to come into the race, refuel, use that fast repair and not lose any time in the pit stop. So there's our first actual pit stop in the race from Fernando Torres, so it'd be a good indication to see what sort of time he sets as a benchmark for the rest of the field. 21.4 seconds he was stationary, and 55 seconds in total from start to finish. So let's see how the rest of the drivers do. But I think with what you were saying before, as we were watching there, Thomas Hardens coming right up to the bumper and seeing the inside workings of that Lamborghini, or Roger coming into the first corner, it'd be interesting to see. Has Thibaut Prevost thought what you were saying and saying, do you know what, I don't really need to fight Kieran Havaz. I knew the Lamborghini was going to be faster. I don't want to make any silly mistakes. I'm about 7-8 seconds in front of Jeremy in third place. I don't need to push this race. I'm just going to consolidate that second place, be really smooth, and see what happens in the last 2 rounds. So maybe looking at saying, yeah, I'll take this one on the chin, Kieran, you can have this, and just securing that second place at the moment, which seems to be the way, because he's not gaining at all on Kieran. If anything, he's losing more time each lap as we go. I think the last lap was a 44.23 for Kieran Havaz Havas and a 44.5. Still no slouch, by the way. That is an extremely fast time round here in there, but Kieran certainly has put the hammer down to put that little bit of breathing space between himself and Tiabad in second place. Certainly lost that slipstream, but on a charge here is Karam in that wonderfully as you see him coming into the pit lane here for his pit stop, and Tiabad follows him in second place. So first pit stop for first and second, so we'll see what sort of times they do in the pit stop.
That's very interesting because Havertz normally does go a lap or two longer than Timo Prevost. So pitting on the same lap is quite important for Prevost. I wonder if that's why he's been that little bit slower, because he's been saving the fuel to stretch it alongside to match Havertz, because that's all he has to do in this race to give himself a chance. As you can see, cars in the pit lane. I think that was a flash of the lights from Prevost at the moment, but Thomas Owens and Roger Christensen continue on for another lap. Bonsuedo, Wangen, Miravang, Winkler and Bloom all in the pits, and like you said before with Fernando Torres, perfect timing because he won't have to do another stop to get to the end. He just comes in, repairs and heads back out. So two championship rivals head back out with a gap of 3 seconds between them, which is exactly what it was when they came in. So great job by both the crews, sir.
Yeah, literally 1/10 of a second difference between the stop times of Kieran Havas and Prevost there. So pretty much on song, these two guys, and literally taking the same amount of fuel and coming out. As we see, the gap is still remained at that 3 seconds that it was before they came in for the round of pit stop. Pretty much all around the 21-second mark for the majority of the drivers in the pit lane there. Marcus Bloom probably the longest of the top runners at 22 seconds, but only literally a 1/10 of a second difference between himself and his teammate Carl Winkler in the course racing team there in the 7th place. So all around about the same time. It's unusual to see the majority of cars coming in on the same lap, but Thomas Arns and Roger Christensen obviously eking out another lap, and it'll be interesting to see if they come in at the end of this lap. Yes, and as I said, they do. So that's pretty much the whole field here made their pit stop. I think yes, we do. I think Anders Liljedrath needs to make another pit, but we'll go a little bit longer due to the fact that he probably would have refueled his car when he returned to tow back to the pit lane. So yeah, status quo really in this round.
Yeah, that was interesting because Roger Christensen was able to get up alongside Thomas Owens, and they both missed the pit boxes and had to roll back. Christensen rolled into the pit lane the wrong way in qualifying, but got in the right way. Both went straight past their men, so that's going to cost them time. Will Thomas Wangen be able to take advantage of that, because he was very close behind? Anders Liljedrath comes in for that pit stop we think he owes us. See Matt Powlich's car still in there. Christensen comes out ahead of Thomas Owens. Owens still in the pits, so don't know what's happened to him. He's still sitting there and not coming out of the pits.
He hasn't got a penalty stop and go as he 40 seconds, so we'll soon see if he stays in the pits stationary for about a minute. He would have had a pit lane, and if that's a classic iRacing mistake you do not want to do, and it certainly looks that way at the moment. Thomas Harden's still sat in the pits 54 seconds, so pretty sure that he did get that penalty for speeding in the pits, which you really don't want to be doing, certainly fighting that close with Roger, and certainly just thrown away the race if that is the case. As we see him coming out, is he out of the pits? Yes, he's just out of the pits now, 1 minute. Also, Thomas Wangen was in the pit for a 1 minute one, so he looks like he's made the same mistake as getting a pit lane speeding penalty there. So Thomas Wangen, Thomas Ardens, who was fighting it for the battle for 4th place, has sort of fallen by the wayside now, and that has left Roger out on his own to try and chase down Jeremy in front of him. So bit of mistakes there, an unusual characteristic mistake from the two drivers of Thomas Wangen and Thomas Ardens.
Yeah, two experienced drivers, inexperienced teams as well. I think it's the first time we've probably seen a speeding penalty in the pit lane. I know you have to get on the brakes very quickly here at Watkins Glen to do so, but that is why we saw Christensen coming alongside Aarons, who was trying to back off not to get a speeding penalty, which is, again, weird because halfway down pit lane, you'd think you'd have your limiter on by then. So I don't know if there's an issue there for either car. But looking now at Kerm Havertz, 2.2 in the lead. That gap is coming down. Thibaut Prevost on a little bit of a push here early on in this stint. Just thinking, can I put the Turkish driver under some pressure? We haven't really seen any proper mistakes by these two this season so far. Maybe caught up in an instant or two, but that is about it. And Prevost certainly trying to keep the consistency going for the championship, but 1.1 quicker on the last lap, so I'm not sure whether something happened to Kerem in possibly the chicane.
Possibly a back marker just slowing him up a little bit. Certainly lost a lot of time there, around about 0.9 of a second over Thibaut Prevost, so probably got caught up with a back marker there. But be interesting, Dennis, if we can watch Kerem the next time he goes round, going up onto that inner loop, and you can see the line he takes, literally cutting that first corner, cutting the second one to give him that real slingshot effect coming onto the outside of the inner loop. Either himself or Prevost do literally the same lines coming through there. But you can see the proper lace line. You see it coming around here with Kerem, maybe getting right out onto there. See, literally just scraping down the inside with Prevost following the same line. That's the perfect line through that. It looks a bit treacherous, but believe it or not, when you actually get onto that curb on the outside, it stops you from going into the wall for some strange reason. So it looks a bit sketchy, but certainly is the way it normally you drive around to get the fast line around Watkins Glen. But we'll just watch Kerem as he comes up the straights, coming down into the loop, and there's one if we can get an onboard view from him to see how much the car bounces around, but you can sort of see that inner line. So we're watching here, you see him cut the inside, getting right close to that barrier, cutting these two in corners to try and slingshot as well. Took a little bit of the curb on the outside there, but you can sort of see the lines where they literally just use them curbs as a marker to literally get the middle of the car over them curbs. Can be a bit treacherous, certainly if you're doing longer races with the tyre wear, but certainly that is the race, and that was a perfect example from Kerem of the line that I was on about. So yeah, great lap at the moment for Kerem.
Yeah, the gap has gone back out to 2.5 seconds, so maybe just an off lap for Kerem there. While you were talking, we had a pit stop owed to us by Lucas Lang. He pitted early on towed to the pits on lap 1, so he has now fueled to the end of the race. And Thomas Ahrens, I think he jumped to the pits or came into the pits, I'm not sure which, a lap after his penalty, and he is now out of the race. So something not quite right there for Thomas, and he will not be finishing this race. So currently, with 20 minutes to go, we have Kerm Havertz leading by 2.7 seconds from Thibaut Prevost. Jeremy Bonsuado sitting on his own in third place at the moment. Frenchman looking at a podium here at Watkins Glen, which will certainly boost his championship after an up and down season so far. Roger Christensen leading the RPC boys charge with Odin Miravan close behind, so I don't know whether there might be a swap later on. We have seen it with Roger earlier in the season. Carl Winkler is in 6th, Marcus Bloom in 7th, Thomas Wangen, who had that slowdown speeding penalty, in the pit lane, is 8th. Fernando Torres up to 9th. This would be a personal best for him if he could hold on to that position, especially now he actually has a front end on his BMW. And 10th is our newcomer Filippo Pacetti, doing a great job in that Ferrari after that earlier incident on the first lap. He is just holding on nicely to 10th place, with Brian Kroon, Lucas Lang and Anders Lear-Jordet rounding out the runners with 18 minutes to go.
Strange here why Thomas Adams got out and obviously towed back to the pits. I can't see anything in the timing tower like he went off track or anything, but yeah, a bit of a strange one why he did that. Maybe because he thought, well, do you know what, I've lost this round, I'll just take it as my drop score, because the drivers do get a drop round during this championship. And I'll have a look while you talk next, just to see if I can see that's why he's done it, based on his current drop score within the championship. So I'll let you have a little spiel, mate, while I have a quick look and see if that's the reason why.
Yeah, I'll leave you to that as we now watch the leaders currently. Kerm Havertz 44.5 exactly last time. 44.5 by Prevost. The gap is out to 3 seconds though, so putting the hammer down again now. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, the gap just extending out by about a tenth of a second a lap. 5 tenths on lap 23, so I think Prevost is probably chucking the handkerchief into the ring, the towel into the ring, and sort of saying, yeah, Kurum, you can have this one. I'll push you to the end, but I am not going to cause myself to have a mistake, especially how close they come to the barrier. I winced when we were on board with Kurum into that chicane last time, because you just think he's going to clip the end of it, and that would be a race-ending incident. But these two just in a league of their own again. Coming up to Pacetti to lap him in the next lap or two, possibly. So Ferrari driver will be out of the way, but he's doing a great job on his debut in the series.
Yeah, I'm just looking down the score to see if I was right with Thomas Ardens, and this is an absolute disaster for him, as he had a DNF for Bathurst in round 6, so didn't score anything there, and it looks like again here he is not going to score again, which will put Pay to the top of that championship. Thomas there was in I think it was 5th place overall, so by losing and not scoring any points here will be leapfrogged by quite a few drivers below him, and will pretty much take him out of the championship for this season anyway. So real terrible news there for Thomas Ardens. I'm not sure what actually happened to him. Must have been a hardware failure or something like that. I don't know if anybody in the chat is able to find out what happened to Thomas there. Seemed to obviously get caught up in that speeding in the pit lane, served his penalty, came out, and then all of a sudden just towed back to the pit. So must have been some sort of hardware failure, because I can't imagine Thomas would have just thrown in the towel, considering where he knew he was in the championship. Yeah, exactly. You know, retirements happen, hardware failures happen in this championship, just like they do in real life. Just looking further back, this is a battle between Roger Christensen and teammate Orvid Mirvang, and there's only 2 seconds between them. And like I said before, we've seen this twice before. I think it was Rask Olsen let through once and Mirvang let through once, so it'd be interesting to see whether the same happens again. Two drivers not too far apart. Roger Christensen late into the championship, but now in the top 8 of the series. Thomas Aaron's not scoring here today. Maybe Roger will just say, no, actually, I want to look after my own point score with this. It's pretty much guaranteed to be in the top 10 of the championship rate he's going. Here is Thomas Wangen, who, again, when will the luck turn for Thomas Wangen? He's had the pace for most of the races this year, and the races where he looks really good, it's where the incidents have sort of happened. Yeah, it certainly has. I'm just looking at the top of the championship. So we've had Lucas Lang, 3rd place, having an incident on that first lap. Odwin Mirvang, we were watching on screen, the current front runners in that top 5 battle, in 4th place. He was only 12 points behind Lucas Lang, so that gap will be severely closed, and certainly if that position does happen to change for whatever reason, and he gets up to 4th place, that will certainly help him in the championship to maybe even leapfrog Lucas Lang coming into the last 2 rounds. We've got Thomas Ardens there, who was in 5th place, obviously failing to score against, was scored 0 points here. Marko Palic, again, another one in 6th place, who is out of this race. So Jeremy Bonsuado, who was in 7th, slightly off the pace, 9 points behind Palic, will possibly leapfrog Palic and Ardens to be 5th in the championship, and not that far behind Lucas Lang here. So Lang obviously doing the educated thing and making sure he does score points to secure that top 3, top 4 position at the moment. But it's certainly going to be interesting for the last 2 rounds of the seasons between Lang, Mirvang and Jeremy Bonsuado. Yeah, we're just seeing a replay here. Is that Thomas Wangen making an error on that corner where we say, yeah, it runs wide, oh, just clips the grass, and that's a hard hit into the wall, and we might see him head to the pit lane with that. No, he's continued on. So that's a lucky one for Thomas Wangen there.
But I was just looking at the timing screen. There is a battle developing. I don't know whether it will develop in the next 10 minutes of a race, but Pacetti is being closed down by Kroon and Lang. Then Pacetti is closing in on Fernando Torres. We could have a four-way battle for 9th place, and it will be all down to Fernando Torres to try and hold them off. As you can see there, Pacetti closed 1.2 on the last lap, so huge chunk of time taken out of Fernando Torres there.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Fernando, just the consistent. Oh, nearly hits that barrier on the inside that you were on about that we saw earlier on with Havas, getting it slightly wrong, losing a little bit more time down that inside. But yeah, certainly closing up there. And do you know what I think why Thomas Wangman didn't come into the pit lane? I think he, you know, obviously you've got your tick box on your black box for your fast repair, and if these drivers had that ticked for their pit stop and came in and had a little slight damage on it, you would have used your fast repair up there. So maybe Thomas Wangan did that, obviously repaired any slight damage he might have had, because there was a bit of door rubbing with that battle in the 4th place with Roger and Thomas Ardens. Maybe that's where he used his fast repair, so doesn't have that ability available, so just trying to get to the end of the race. Currently about 14 seconds ahead of Fernando Torres there in 9th place, and probably thought he could still nurse it round and keep it in 8th place as Thomas Wangan, but certainly his car looks like it's been in a battle. But Fernando Torres there just getting caught by the 10th, 11th and 12th drivers behind him. So like you said, maybe a bit of a grandstand finish. Has got 11 minutes to survive at the moment, but you can see the state of Thomas Miravang's BM, all the right hand side of that car, including the iRacing add-on of the rear wing bent that you can get. So his car in a bit of a sorry state at the moment, and like you say, puts pace to his race, having that pit lane penalty and obviously having that slight spin. You were mentioning obviously that corner at the start of the race, so it does come to fruition. As you see there, Roger getting right out onto the wall and using the wall as a bump stop to make sure he didn't spin. So certainly having a little bit of that and really pushing that Lamborghini to try and keep ahead of Miravang in 5th place.
I know RPC want more sponsorship, but you don't need to paint it onto the wall on the exit of that corner, but that is what it was. It was a width of a paintbrush, and Christensen really pushing hard, which, considering what I was saying with him laying a couple of drives through at times, which could come back to haunt him later in the series. I know he was doing it as a team effort, but he's going so well that he could end up the top RPC driver at the end of this season the rate he's going. But he's really pushing on and really risking things to stay ahead of Ovid Miravang. Just behind these, about 9 seconds back, Carl Winkler, biggest mover in the race so far, up 7 places, keeping it consistent on his return to the series after a few rounds out. So Carl doing a great job, and behind him Marcus Bloom, his teammate, 5 places. But yeah, the battle is tough. Thomas Wangan is actually falling back into the clutches of Fernando Torres at a rate of 2 seconds a lap with that damage he's got. As I'd normally say, the Wang is a little bit bent on that, and the Fernando Torres is really pushing hard to try and gain what could be 8th place. So this could be a serious personal best for Fernando Torres.
Maybe that Thomas, his car did look a little bit ski-whiffy. I wonder if he's bent his steering wheel and his steering wheel's not quite straight, and trying to drive around the last 9 minutes of this race with a bent wheel. But you can see there, just it's almost like a little bit of crabbing. Obviously, that would have been him steering, but he is a pretty sick pig that is at BMW at the moment. But still managing to keep that slender gap that he does have over Torres, but that has come down 4 seconds. He was 14 seconds ahead of Torres, is now only 9 seconds ahead of Torres. So it's going to be an interesting last 8 minutes for Thomas to see if he can manage to secure that 8th place. I think he deserves it on the whole with his current outing here tonight, and been lucky. But you can see there, almost like it is that car is grabbing. Definitely
that's grabbing, definitely. And I wouldn't be surprised after that hit, but it's a surprise Thomas has even been able to pull these lap times out of a car that's crabbing that much. It's crabbing so much you'd pick it out of the docks at Wells when you go crabbing, but you know, it's just so. I mean, down here it looks okay, and then that straight on view we had, it was completely sort of sliding the back of the car out. It was like he was drifting, and Fernando Torres this time by another 2 seconds out of the gap's down to 8.6 seconds. He seems to have dropped Pacetti now, so that battle seems to be pretty much over. Brian Kroon only 6 seconds off the back of Pacetti for that last top 10, but Thomas Wangen really having to control, and it's bad enough going through the inner loop with a straight car, never mind one that's doing that.
Oh, it's amazing he's able to drive around, still getting 146 lap times. 148 lap times, you know, with a car that's crabbing as much as that car seems to be. So doing an exceptional job, and I wonder if he can keep that 8th place. I think it's going to be a tall order with the time that we've got left and the amount of time that Fernando Torres is catching in on him. But certainly looks like Kieran Prevott's actually thrown in that towel. 6 seconds behind Kieran at the moment. Literally the length of that straight we just saw there is the gap. So Prevost still gets decent points for second, but it certainly closes up the top of that championship, and it'll certainly be in single figures going into the last 2 rounds of the championship. And just a quick shout out to one of our other sources, SDK Gaming. So add a virtual live HUD to iRacing, showing time and towers, enhanced relativity boxes, mini maps, all calculators and many more. Stream to Twitch with the most comprehensive overlay on iRacing. Broadcast your leagues and series. SDK Gaming syncs your commentary teams, cameras, force drive and overlay with your broadcaster, as we use here on Apex Racing TV for every single one of our leagues. So whatever Dennis is watching is currently what myself and Dave are seeing on screen, and obviously the wonderful overlays that you see on the screen are all done by SDK Gaming. So head over to SDK Gaming, stk-gaming.co.uk, and enjoy a 14-day free trial, and I'm pretty sure at the end of that 14 days you'll be buying it yourself or subscribing it. So head over to there to see what they can offer as we head into the last 5 minutes of this race, and we have a nice replay here.
Yeah, I think it'd be Carl Winkler making a bit of a mistake, because Marcus Bloom is nowhere near him, and now is less than a second. Yeah, it's just an easy spin for Carl Winkler, no harm done. Get back going. It's only his teammate coming around the corner, so they'll be able to tell each other to watch out, and they will continue on in order for now. The disappointment from today, Brian Kroon and Lucas Lang are 2 of the quickest drivers on the track right now. 2 of the quickest drivers in the race. Their best laps being 44.5 and 44.1. So they've obviously had the pace here today. Just got caught up in that opening lap because Brian was the one who sort of initiated it, not on purpose, but initiated it, and Lucas Lang just got caught up due to his bad qualifying. So that gap, they could have been serious podium contenders today.
Yeah, it certainly has, but what I'm watching with intrigue is Fernando Torres and that gap between himself and Thomas Wangen at Mount down to 5 seconds, 4.9. So every single lap is just like 2 seconds out of Thomas Wangen's time, and Thomas must be looking at the time and saying, come on, time, just run down as quick as you can. I mean, looking at it, we probably got just under 4 minutes left, so around about 2 laps left. So it's going to be hit or miss. It's going to be around about 1 second if Thomas Wangen can actually keep ahead of Fernando Torres by the end of the race. But if he's thinking about that, he's going to lose even more time. So just needs to try and drive that crabbing BMW around this track. I mean, he's pretty much driven this for the last, 10 minutes on track. So doing an exceptional job as the RPC Esports driver, driving a crabbing BMW around this track. I mean, we all know how hard that is to do, but certainly keeping it at a competitive pace of a 148. But yeah, certainly earned his points tonight here on this racetrack. And we see there Fernando Torres was in the background, so getting ever closer So it's certainly going to be a race right to the end. But we rejoin the battle here for 4th place between the teammates Roger Christensen and Odin Miravang in 5th place. Only half a second behind the teammate now. So maybe seeing a passing move in the next lap or so.
Yeah, but they've closed up, and Winkler and Bloom have closed up. Oh, and Christensen's round, and he's gone around. That's not the way you're meant to let your teammate through, Roger. But it looks like he's managed to get away with it. There didn't look like a huge amount of damage on the back of Lamborghini. We'll see it as he goes around here. No, the wing is still straight, and he's got away with that one. The banked nature of that corner has just helped him, but it's a strange one to lose it on the entry. You normally lose it when you get on the power later on in the corner. And what has been probably Roger Christensen's scrappiest evenings for us just got a little bit more scrappier as he got off the curb. I think it was going slightly when he got off the curb. I think he was fighting it, and he's just gone into the tyres, managed to slightly bend the wing, but nothing drastic, and away he goes. And luckily, Carl Winkler and Marcus Bloom are so far behind that he's managed to hold on to 5th place.
I mean, that was just so fortunate. That is a game-ending spin. Normally, you normally hit the rear end and damage your suspension, get the meatball flag, but absolutely counting his lucky stars there that he hit the barrier literally square on with his back end, not even bending his rear wing. So fortunate escape there for Roger, but yeah, obviously we can't say that was a given pass up there between Roger and Miravang. Unfortunately, that was, like you said, an unorthodox way to let your teammates through.
It's one the mechanics probably won't appreciate. But here is Kieran Havertz leading the way. He's not on his last lap just yet. He's coming round towards it. But just in front of them, I believe, is Fernando Torres, who's 1.2 seconds off Thomas Wangen now. Not even that now. This is the battle. Thomas Wangen's still getting that really crabbing car around the circuit. And Fernando will want to do this pass quickly, because if the leader catches him, he will have one less lap to do it. He should do it with a crabbing car, but you just never know. Just got to take his time about this move, and he should have Thomas up the straight. But there is Kim Havertz going onto the white flag, and will the leader rob Torres of the chance of the position? Havertz a 44.3. I'll just pop in a 44.3. 1 lap to go. Has anybody told Kim he can back off now? He's got 7.5 seconds lead. But here's Fernando Torres. He's going right to the outside of Thomas Wangen. Wangen tries to defend, but the crabbing car just not enough. And Fernando Torres moves up into 8th place.
Great pass there. It was on the cards to do. Thomas done what he can to nurse that car around, but when you've got a fresh car in front of you that's at full speed, it's a bit of a tall battle to do. But great news there, Fernando Torres. His consistency throughout this round has bought him a top 10, and not only a top 10, an 8th position at the moment. But again, looking at that, Kieran Havertz could have ended this lap a race earlier, and it brings you back to the backflashes of Spa, where he literally went over the line with 2 seconds to spare, and he's done it again here tonight, which made him do the extra lap. Maybe he just loves this track like I do and wanted to do that extra lap, but could have possibly ended this lap or this race a lap earlier than it needs to. Oh, as we said, Trevor! He's gone off. He's got to wait to
rejoin. It's a horrible place to get going. He hits the wall on the inside. He's caught it. There's Bonsuedo. He is 19 seconds behind, so it's going to take a hell to catch up.
No, it's not. Here
he comes. Jeremy Bonsuedo goes past Thibaut Prevost on the last lap, just as Kieran Havertz comes round the final corner to win here in Watkins Glen. And the championship is well and truly on, as Jeremy Bonsuedo has made his way past Thibaut Prevost. We'll try and get a replay later on just to see what happened to Thibaut Prevost. But here comes Jeremy Bonsuedo, looking for his best result of the season, the best result for the Undercut Racing team. And the Frenchman, who was looking at a podium, has now just jumped up a step because of a mistake by Thibaut Prevost. I didn't think we'd ever say those words, but Prevost still comes in third to cement his championship lead just about, but that was not the result he was looking for. Miravan comes home in 4th. I hear a thump in my ear, so that must be Prevost just dumping the car at the end of a straight. Christensen comes home in 5th after his spin. Carl Winkler, after his spin, comes home in 6th. Marcus Bloom, probably the only guy who hasn't spun, in 7th. And Fernando Torres is 50 seconds behind the leader currently, but he is officially 8th because Thomas Wangen was lapped. So Fernando Torres gets his best ever position, and here's the replay.
I mean, such an uncharacteristic. Just coming out the back end of the boot there, gets the car slightly wrong. Could I say it?
Oh, that's
strange.
A weird one.
Something you don't normally see, but obviously spun it and had to wait for cars, which obviously gave Jeremy the opportunity to come up. Then hit the wall on the outside again that gave the opportunity. But what that has done, I've just literally looked at the points. The points at the start of this race difference between the two drivers was 15 points. The difference for the result of that, and obviously Tirabad just losing that extra position, is 12 points. So the difference going into the last 2 rounds of the championship is now only 3 points between them two. So, Dave, over to you for the race results.
Yeah, so Kerm Havertz takes yet another win this season. It's 28.5 seconds clear in the end. That does not tell the full story of the race, but he is the winner here at Watkins Glen. Jeremy Bonsuedo, the Frenchman, taking a best ever position of 2nd here on the podium, with Thibaut Prevost down in 3rd place. Not the result he was looking for as he started the final lap. I'd say a very strange one. So hopefully he'll pop into the commentary box and we can find out what happened there, because it was a very weird sort of tank slapper, shall we say. But that is technically, luckily for Thibaut, his worst result of the season so far. So he will drop that result. Odin Mirvang has got 4th place, and that will jump him ahead of Lucas Lang in the championship, possibly. After Lucas Lang had his first lap incident, Roger Christensen in 5th, Carl Winkler in 6th, Marcus Bloom 7th, Fernando Torres, as I said, with that PB in 8th, Thomas Wangen with the crabbing car, a great 9th place, really. And Filippo Pacetti brings the Ferrari home for a top 10, the first top 10 for a Ferrari this season. That is well done by the Italian on his debut. Brian Kroon, Lucas Lang, and Anders Lear-Jordet round out the finishers in the top 13. Thomas Ahrens, Marit Paulich, and Wiebel Nijkamp are the retirees.
Yeah, so obviously with that drop Brown from Privo, it's actually only it's a 7-point lead, not the 3-point. I got a little bit excited there thinking that was the case, but 7 points is a good one there. But that was a very strange ending to that race, but really good for Jeremy Bonsuado. You know, that's his best result he's had in this season, and what that will do, that'll shoot him up the championship with all his rivals in front of him, apart from Obdin Mirovang having an absolute terrible round there. So we'll obviously put him up the order and change around the positions, maybe slightly going in, which makes it all the more interesting when we come to the last 2 rounds of this championship. But before we get into the round of interviews, just a quick shout out to our last sponsor, Apex Racing Academy. They got 29 data pack setups, track guides, it's fully integrated with the VRS system, weekly group coaching sessions, plus many more. Head over to apexracingac.com to find out more. But we have our race winner in the interview area, and Dave, I'll let you have a chat with him.
Kerm Havertz, the winner here at Watkins Glen. That was seemed quite a simple race for you.
Yeah, it was actually all about trying to be easy on the tires as much as possible, because it was a 60 minutes of Watkins Glen, and this track is quite hard on the tires. And I knew that Prova had a much higher wing than me, so I was pulling away on the straights, even if he had a draft. So when he just did a mistake and get out of my draft, I just tried to take it easy, and yeah, in the end, we got the win.
Yeah, in the end, it was a 28-second win after Thibaut made a mistake on the final lap. It seems a bit very strange one if you look back on the coverage afterwards. But you said that this was going to be a circuit for your Lamborghini to sort of shine on, and now the championship lead has really carved down. Do you think over the next 2 rounds you can really take the challenge to Tebow?
Yeah, the Watkins. If you compare the BMW and Lambo for the Watkins and Sebring, these cars have a pretty equal pace on the single lap, but for the race overall, Lambo is just better because of it has much less tire drop than the BMW. So yeah, I think it's gonna be the same on the Sebring as long as if I get on the pace, I think I'll be all right. And yeah, if I win Sebring, Imola will be exciting for sure.
Yeah, it'll certainly give us a good thing to commentate on at the end of the season in Imola. Um, so with Sebring, is that you sort of said that Lamborghini will be good? Do you think Imola will be an advantage between either of the cars?
Uh, for Imola, actually, BMW isn't that popular, so lots of people doesn't have idea if the car is good or not. But I saw pretty esports players were driving BMW there, and they were quite fast on the previous season. So I think it'll be quite equal again. But yeah, I think Lambo will be a bit better on the race considering tire drop again. So we'll see.
Well, before we let you go, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, actually, first of all, my team, of course, as for the previous races too, for the help, and my friend Luke for the help for the setup. Setup was quite a bit tricky for these conditions, but it was fast overall, so I really thank to him.
So, Kim Havertz, a winner here at Watkins Glen, and hopefully we'll see you at Sebring next weekend. Next week,
Yeah.
not weekend.
Yeah. Thank you guys. See you.
That was Kim Havertz.
Sorry, mate.
Sorry, carry on.
No, you go, mate. Go on.
Yeah, Kim Havertz, our race winner, and the only driver to come and talk to us. I don't think Tebow was very happy at the end of that race. He seemed to quit the lobby very quickly after he crossed the line. And I think there'll be, say it was a really strange one. I don't know if we can get replay back up just to have a quick discussion about it while we got no interviews. But it was a really strange incident because it was like he got oversteer and then he was like wiggling the wheel down the straight, and that's when he lost control of it. So as you'll see here, hopefully if it comes up, yeah, here we go through the toe of the boot. He gets a bit of oversteer, catches it, and then he doesn't lose it till now. So, well, he's still going and then loses it. So I don't know whether it was like something was broke at the rear of the car, but we've got no signs of him having broke anything. So it's a bit of a strange one.
It certainly is. I don't know if he was just trying to sneak it down there, and really don't know. Obviously, we can't ask the man the question. He normally comes into the interview area, but yeah, probably deciding to give this one a miss. But Sebring for the next outing, mate. I love that track as well. It's going to be a great track for these GT3s. Really long straight after the Le Mans corner, coming down the back over Sunset Bend, which is always entertaining to watch any sort of car coming through there down the start finish. So it's going to be an interesting round, Sebring, and with only 7 points difference now at the top of the championship between Kiram Havas and Theo Prevost, it's going to be an interesting run-in for the last round of the season. And if, as Kiram says, that Lamborghini is going to be stronger than the BMW, I'm pretty sure that Prevost will be doing all he can to make sure he does get that second place. But if that is the same result in Sebring, that's going to give us a grandstand finish, winner takes all at Imola. So I'm sort of hoping that happens, because that'd be an excellent end to the season.
Exactly. That's what we want to see, a true championship fight to the end. And Sebring, it's a strange circuit because you want a really quick car, but you have to set it up for the bumps. It's a very bumpy track, very old school style, especially around the airstrip section at the end of the lap. So be interesting to see how the cars get set up for the circuits ahead. And it's a fight between two of them now. They've proved their class throughout the season, and now it will be head to head with Privo having that small points advantage.
Yeah, And it's certainly going to be interesting for the position behind, for the last position on the podium. All the top runners having a pretty much of a terrible day, and gave the opportunity to the guys in 5th and 6th place, Helvin Miravan and Jeremy Bonswado. So they will be ever more closing up to that top 3. So not only have we got a fight out for the championship position overall, we've also got that last podium position, which is going to be really interesting for the last 2 rounds of the season. So that brings us to the end of this broadcast. Unfortunately, you've seen the spills and thrills of what Watkins Glen has to offer. We look forward to Sebring next week. Before we go, a big shout out to all the people who have been watching this on YouTube. Please give us that thumbs up, considering subscribing to the channel and clicking that bell, and you'll get notified of all the seasons and all the time Apex goes live, which is pretty much every single night. Join us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Just look for Apex Racing TV. So from myself, Andy Thompson, from Dave Whitehouse, alongside me in the commentary box from Dennis Brandt, who stood in wonderfully well for our Lewis. From Watkins Glens, we bid you farewell and look forward to the last 2 rounds of the championship in the next 2 Tuesdays. But next week we go to Sebring. So until 8 o'clock next week, good night and have fun.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.